The demons nodded. Eric King, somewhat astonished, asked, a premonition? Clara Ocean nodded tiredly and added, rest for a few days. You all handle your tasks first. Once the items are in hand, I'll study them. As for the matter of Dream River Mountain's annihilation, I'll take care of it, my way. Oh, Daniel Hall, take that stone from last time with you. Don't waste it. With that, Clara Ocean took out a bottle containing 50 pills. Clara Ocean quickly glanced at the bottle of pills before tossing it to Oscar Lewis, who was already accustomed to this routine. She reminded him, hey, remember, completing the mission is the priority. The flowers and herbs can wait for a few days. Oscar Lewis confidently replied, don't worry, I'll make sure the mission is completed. Afterward, Clara Ocean took out 3 memory stones. The group of demons, understanding the situation, vanished in an instant, leaving behind a clear blue sky. Clara spoke to the memory stones, I used pills to bribe a few friends from the Lake clan to help track your whereabouts. I'm sending some pills and spirit stones your way to help you get by for now. As for the matter of Dream Summer Mountain, I'll handle it. Once it's resolved, I'll ask the Lake clan friends to find you. Don't cause any trouble. After copying 3 parts, she directly tossed them to a fox demon messenger and said, find someone to deliver these. Turning back, she addressed Henry Lake, grandfather, once the matter here is done, I'll head to Dream Summer Mountain to have some fun. You've been looking after those old folks for 10 years, but I doubt they'll last that long. Henry Lake, worried, said, there are nascent soul cultivators there. Clara Ocean casually pointed to the group of demons nearby and calmly replied, aren't you all in the Great Ascension stage? I solve things with intelligence, using violence lacks any challenge. Still. Concerned, Henry Lake added, don't underestimate those humans. What if they ambush you? Clara Ocean stuck out her tongue and nonchalantly pointed at one of the demons. Ask her about the consequences of ambushing me. She was just cursed by me. That should be the result of attacking me, right? Hashtag Chapter 21, the 21st Return. Healing Leo Cloud the demon covered her face, aggrieved, and said, I'm telling you, old fox, this girl is too ruthless toward demons. Her protective techniques are curses. If our levels weren't so far apart, she'd definitely trick us one by one. The other demons fell silent, recalling their recent misfortune. Clara Ocean put on an innocent and pitiful expression. Henry Lake also remained silent. Indeed, with someone so skilled in scheming, there was little to worry about. After all, the unlucky ones would never be her. In truth, many years later, Henry Lake would recall the past and realize that curses often had a backlash. Minor issues brought misfortune to others, but major ones frequently ended up making Clara Ocean unlucky herself. Everyone dispersed to handle their tasks. Clara Ocean, meanwhile, boldly relaxed and recuperated. 5 days passed in the blink of an eye. Henry Lake had delivered the necessary items and made all the arrangements. On the other side, Daniel Hall returned, exhausted but unharmed. Clara Ocean cheerfully teased, you're a great ascension cultivator, yet it took you 5 whole days. No sooner had she spoken than a pile of books buried her alive. From within, Daniel Hall's voice emerged, we've moved all the books from the library pavilion here. Take your time going through them. Clara Ocean angrily scolded, you water-brained fool. Instead of lightening my load, you're increasing the chances of your big brother's demise. Don't you all know how to read? Help me search. Daniel Hall retorted, you're the water-brained one. We're spirit beings, there's no water in our heads. We'll handle the 4th floor, you take care of the others. Furious, Clara Ocean slammed a book shut and stored all the books away. Irritated, she muttered, you just love causing trouble for me. Now I have to return all these later. Henry Lake suspiciously asked, you're not going to read it? Clara Ocean smirked mischievously at Henry Lake and said, call everyone who can read here, sort the crafting books, copy them, and make 10 backup sets. As for martial arts techniques, they're not worth my attention. Copying 3 sets will suffice. Clara shrugged, feigning innocence, then coldly added, get to work. Stop complaining. Daniel Hall found these tasks for you all. I originally planned to spend a few years researching these myself, but there's still plenty of techniques left untouched. Daniel Hall was once again sent flying by a punch from each demon. He rubbed his head with a grievance-filled expression. Indeed, demons have great strength. Knowing Clara Ocean's fiery temper, the literate demons nearby were quickly mobilized to classify the books. It took 2 full days to complete the classification. Clara Ocean suspiciously asked, hasn't anyone come to check on us? Eric King proudly replied, although this is the human realm, everyone nearby knows this is a forbidden zone of the demon clan. No humans are allowed within 10,000 miles. He gestured to the surrounding demons and said, their lairs are all nearby. Besides, with the demon clan gathered here, who would dare come and seek death? Clara Ocean glanced around. Seriously, all of them were nascent soul stage beasts. Alright, with this kind of dominance, no one would dare investigate. Soon, several books appeared in front of Clara Ocean. She skimmed through them and found methods for crafting the dragon binding spike along with its unsealing techniques, instructions for creating mind control powder and its antidote, and a manual on utilizing the spirit harming curse. Clara Ocean carefully read through them and felt a bit dizzy. What were these things? Her soul felt overwhelmed as she sifted through such extensive memories to find a few fragments. No wonder she felt faint. Seeing Clara Ocean's growing anger, the major demon kings instinctively began studying the antidote methods. Conveniently, Eric King thoughtfully handed Clara Ocean a demon clan's herbal and mineral compendium. Clara Ocean, intrigued, asked, you guys write books too? Eric King calmly explained, a demon cultivator lives at least tens of thousands of years. That's an immense amount of memories. If a clan member accidentally consumes something harmful, relying solely on memory would waste time. So, whenever something is discovered, it's documented. That's why the book is so thick. Clara Ocean sarcastically remarked, better thick than rummaging through memories. Sister Fox is already dizzy. The demons wiped their sweat nervously. While they searched for useful items, Clara Ocean copied the herbal and mineral compendium. By the time she finished, a pile of items had already accumulated around her. Eric King eagerly wanted to extract the dragon binding spike from the Lin Van Python's body. Clara Ocean immediately stopped him, saying, old man, hold on. Without my help in treating him, pulling out the spike will kill him. At her use of old man, the young Eric King's mouth twitched slightly. Clara Ocean ignored him, turned around, and patted 3 stacks of books, then told Henry Lake, find someone free to copy these books for me. The more copies, the better. Stack them neatly, they'll come in handy. Seeing Clara Ocean's mischievous grin, the surrounding demons could only express their helplessness. The little demons began working, copying 10 copies of each book and stacking them neatly. I held on to Leo Cloud's hand as white light radiated from him. Eric King, without wasting words, seized the opportunity to start pulling out the dragon nail. Seeing it was about to be removed, Clara Ocean directly grabbed the nail and pulled it out forcefully. Clara Ocean casually put the nail away and smugly said, this trophy belongs to me. After all, you pure-blooded demon clan members can't even touch it. Eric King naturally understood, if Clara Ocean hadn't pulled it out with her hands, the nail might have embedded itself into him. A flicker of gratitude appeared in Eric King's eyes, but Clara Ocean pretended not to notice and began studying how to break the spirit-harming curse and the mind control powder. Mind control powder was a type of poison pill. She had previously researched its composition, and now upon seeing the antidote, she cross-referenced it with the herbs listed in the herbal and mineral compendium. Carefully inspecting the herbs brought by the demons, she cautiously tasted each one. Daniel Hall complained, "Girl, what do you mean by this? Do you think we'd give you poison or something?" Clara Ocean finished sampling the herbs, carefully analyzing their properties. After gaining a clear understanding, she closed her eyes to study the alchemy process. A day passed quickly, and the demons realized it was part of her research process. As a result, Daniel Hall was once again thrown out in frustration. When Clara Ocean opened her eyes, she looked at Daniel Hall and said, "Let me tell you, if you don't know anything, don't open your mouth." Shannon tasted hundreds of herbs not to test poisons but to understand their properties. "These herbs are unfamiliar to me, and tasting them is the simplest way to learn how to use them. It's not like I'll die from it." Daniel Hall was left speechless. Among the demon clan, no one knew alchemy, they simply consumed antidotes directly. Clara Ocean found the usage of the herbal and mineral compendium fascinating. By focusing on a specific herb and using her divine sense to identify its name, the book would automatically flip to the corresponding page. It was truly remarkable. Looking at her handwritten copy, she pouted in dissatisfaction. Ignoring Daniel Hall, Clara Ocean began channeling her energy and quickly reached her optimal state. She instructed, "I need to refine a pill. Granduncle Fox, find me 5 foxes representing the 5 elements, metal, wood, water, fire, and earth, who are harmonious with each other and ready to assist me at any time. This pill is of a rather high level, and refining it is quite troublesome." Henry Lake, having heard that Clara Ocean could only absorb the chaos spirit, naturally understood her intention. Clara Ocean turned to Eric King and said, "Assign someone to guard the area. No interruptions are allowed while I refine the pill. This process is highly uncertain and inherently dangerous." Eric King nodded, signaling his understanding. Clara Ocean continued, "My true fire is different from others. I hope those watching can keep it a secret. After all, there's a human saying, it's not the thief you fear, but the thief who covets what you have. Don't make me start coveting you." The demons broke out in a cold sweat, fully aware of the consequences of being targeted by Clara Ocean. Henry Lake asked in confusion, "Girl, from the way you're talking, it sounds like you're about to go mad." Clara Ocean nodded sincerely, causing the demon kings to shudder. She cheerfully explained, "Due to my age, I still can't fully synchronize with the fox soul. However, even if we were in sync, I could transform into my fox form at any time. The effect of humanization remains, as long as I don't expose my ears and tail in front of humans, they'll still see me as one of their own." Clara Ocean then shyly added, "To be precise, after transforming into a fox, you shouldn't expect any rationality. You all know how much wisdom a 4-year-old fox has. Basic judgments will be made by my human soul, which is essentially me in human form." The demons all nodded in understanding. Suddenly, Clara Ocean excitedly asked, "Granduncle, the transformation skill seems so interesting. Right. Now, I can only transform into a human. Why can't I transform into an animal?" Henry Lake suspiciously looked at Clara Ocean. She noticed his expression and immediately understood that asking would be futile. Without saying a word, she shifted her form, transforming into Daisy Lake, then into her father, Martin Ocean. The surrounding creatures were visibly astonished. Clara Ocean realized this was an ability waiting to be explored. After regaining her composure, she retrieved a pile of demon cores and a golden core nearby, then took out a cauldron and began concocting pills. Following her imagined steps, the initial process went smoothly. However, when it came to merging the pills and imprinting them with magical seals, she encountered some challenges. The 5 members of the Lake clan behind her promptly assisted by channeling their energy into her. Barely holding on, Clara Ocean panted and said, "Listen up, the pills are almost ready. Your job is to catch them for me. I'll handle the heavenly tribulation. Whether this succeeds or not depends on this final step." At the very least, you must catch one for me. The creatures around her grew excited. Eric King and his group initially thought there would only be one pill, but Clara Ocean's words hinted at more. As a result, the experts at the Great Ascension stage prepared themselves to catch the pills. When they looked up at the sky, they saw the 9 layers of purple firmament divine thunder tribulation, a standard for immortal crossing tribulations. Clara Ocean gritted her teeth and decided not to play around anymore. Successfully opening the cauldron, she ignored the pills and directly unleashed purple light from her eyes toward the thunder tribulation. In no time, the thunder tribulation transformed into thunder beads, disappearing into Clara Ocean's hands. She asked, 32 beads, how many did you catch? Eric King gathered all the pills and replied, they're all here. Clara Ocean took the pills and refined each one using the thunder tribulation before handing the completed pills to Eric King for bottling. Exhausted, she collapsed onto the ground, looking as though she was on the brink of death. Panting, she said, give 1 pill to Grasshopper. The rest should be kept for his clan. Others likely won't find much use for them. Oh, but if someone's soul is severely injured, it might help. Chapter 22, Return to Falling Blossom City. After saying this, Clara Ocean closed her eyes and fainted dramatically. The 5 members of the Lake clan around her were also recovering their spiritual energy. Their inner strength was deep enough to avoid immediate unconsciousness. Clara Ocean, however, didn't bother herself with such concerns and fell into a deep sleep. Seeing the worried expressions of the creatures, Henry Lake reassured them, don't worry. Prepare some good food for her. She must be very tired this time. She'll sleep for a few days, and then she'll recover. Clara Ocean slept for 7 days before slowly waking up. The moment she saw the food in front of her, she grabbed it and devoured it ravenously, mumbling, finally, you remembered to feed me. You're all neglecting a child. The creatures felt helpless, they didn't need food, after all. Clara Ocean emphasized, I'm a child and need nutrition. The creatures fell backward in disbelief. Ah, that's right, they had forgotten she was still a child. After eating to her heart's content, Clara Ocean lifted the spirit-harming curse and entered a meditative state. Her human soul began an unharmonious discussion with her lake spirit. There was no other way, they were practically speaking different languages. If not for their synchronized souls, they might not have been able to communicate at all. After a long while, she slowly awakened. Henry Lake asked with concern, was it very difficult? Clara Ocean gasped and said, Lake and I are completely talking past each other. What do you think? Shall we give it a try? All the demons looked at Leo Cloud with sympathetic eyes. Leo Cloud's face showed helplessness, but upon reflection, if any method worked, would he have had to endure so many years of suffering? Under the watchful eyes of everyone, Clara Ocean, with 1 human hand and 1 fox claw, pressed against Leo Cloud's waist. She smirked wickedly and said, get ready to experience the dual extremes of ice and fire. Before Leo Cloud could react, Clara Ocean began working recklessly. In an instant, Leo Cloud felt a tearing pain spreading from his wound, bit by bit, as if his body was being ripped apart. The pain expanded outward as Clara Ocean's fox claw pulled away. Leo Cloud immediately let out a heart-wrenching scream, but Clara Ocean, having anticipated this, had already shielded her hearing. Leo Cloud could feel a faint blue light emanating from Clara Ocean's human hand. The light not only healed his injury and removed necrotic tissue but also accelerated cell regeneration, restoring the wound to a closed state. Daniel Hull finally understood what the dual extremes of ice and fire meant. Gritting his teeth, he muttered, I knew that crazy fox wasn't trustworthy. The human form is much gentler. I opposed the fox form. The demons all nodded in agreement and quickly scattered, unanimously deciding that Clara Ocean's fox form was far too unreliable. For 3 consecutive days, Leo Cloud shed his skin 3 times and was on the verge of collapsing into a dried husk. Those around him cast strange glances at Henry Lake, who looked skyward, feigning innocence. Just as everyone was pitying Leo Cloud, he let out another anguished cry before fainting on the spot. Clara Ocean smugly withdrew her hands and said to the demons with peculiar expressions, "Observe closely. He's finally escaped this calamity, unless he needs to endure a second round of punishment." Eric King hesitantly asked, "What counts as good?" Clara Ocean shot him a disdainful glance and replied, "What a stupid question. If the wound stops splitting open and no longer oozes pus, then it's good. What else?" Eric King was speechless. He was Eric King, after all, couldn't she show him a little respect? Glancing at the unconscious Leo Cloud beside him, he decided not to complain further. After all, everyone faces trials and tribulations. Offending a rare healer of the demon clan wasn't something most could afford. Leo Cloud heard these words and silently prayed, hoping he wouldn't have to endure a second round of punishment. Sob, the little fox was terrifying. Clara Ocean continued, "By the way, find some easily digestible soul food for that wandering spirit. Conscious souls are off limits, he's too weak and could easily be possessed." The surrounding demons were utterly speechless. Daniel Hall, already accustomed to Clara Ocean's manner of speaking, turned and left to prepare food for their elder brother. The True Spirit clan had their own food sources, primarily raising creatures with minimal intelligence. These provided not only weak souls for consumption but also meat to sell to other clans. As long as they were still alive, clan members could consume normal souls. Naturally, they knew how to prepare such things. After giving her instructions, Clara Ocean turned her attention to the books she was copying. The fox demons had already prepared everything, but over the past few days, Leo Cloud's screams had driven them far away. They worked hard to complete what the mutated little fox wanted before Alexander King finished his ordeal. None of them intended to test the wrath of the Soul Devourer Queen. Moreover, the entire demon realm had unanimously agreed to oppose the mutated Lake clan. It was terrifying, a mighty transcendence-level demon being subdued so thoroughly. As for these low-level demons, they naturally served with utmost care. If they truly angered her, their little lives might not be safe. Watching the neatly arranged original manuscripts being tossed around carelessly, the demons teared up. They had worked so hard to organize them. Seeing the reactions of the small demons, Clara Ocean irritably said, "You all throw things around so messily like this, who would believe it's not stolen?" She then grabbed the paw of a nearby fox demon and scribbled a few random lines. Satisfied, Clara Ocean turned to the small demons behind her and said, "Do you know Falling Blossom City? Take these books and bring them near the north gate of Falling Blossom City in this manner. First, keep watch and wait for me to return. Remember, make it look like you didn't read them thoroughly. Once you're near the north gate, just start scattering them randomly." The small demons nodded seriously, showing their understanding. After giving her instructions, Clara Ocean handed off the next tasks to Henry Lake, grabbed her eighth uncle to run an errand, and headed back to Falling Blossom City. Naturally, as they neared the city, Clara Ocean dismissed them and made herself look filthy. From a distance away from the city gate, a team of guards approached her. Seeing Clara Ocean covered in dirt, the guard captain asked with concern, "Miss Fox, are you all right?" Clara Ocean patted her chest, breathing heavily, and directly asked, "How many of you are here?" The soldiers of Falling Blossom City were familiar with this alchemist, so one of them respectfully replied, "We are a small team of about 30 people." Clara Ocean nodded and said, "When I was on my way back, I discovered a lot of books over there. Some are torn apart. Someone like me, so small, couldn't possibly carry them all. There are so many, they're piled higher than me." The soldier immediately showed interest and inquired further. Recently, the atmosphere in Falling Blossom City had been tense. Firstly, because Clara Ocean, the alchemist, had not returned on time, and the city lord, worried something might have happened, had sent soldiers to search for her. Secondly, a few days ago, the demon clan caused trouble by raiding the Dream River Mountain Scripture Pavilion, and the soldiers were tasked with recovering the stolen texts. After all, the likelihood of a demon clan intrusion was high, and it was even more likely that those texts were carelessly discarded. According to reports from higher-ups, it seemed that some mischievous small demons from the True Spirit clan had wandered over, wreaked havoc on the Scripture Pavilion, and swept away all the precious texts within. Clara Ocean climbed onto the back of one of the soldiers and directed them to find the texts. Earlier, before returning, she had enlisted Eighth Uncle's help to make the books look like they had been scattered along the way. Seeing the condition of the books, the soldiers were all perplexed. Previously, when Clara Ocean noticed the pitiful gaze of Ling Yun's serpent, she had deliberately instructed them to make some of the books appear particularly miserable. The small demons carrying the books had intentionally damaged them even further, so now Clara Ocean couldn't bear to look at the tattered texts. Oh heavens, these are ancient books, thousands or even tens of thousands of years old. How could they destroy them like this? Truly, no sense of morality. Fine, they're demons, it's understandable they don't care for such things, but how is anyone supposed to read these now? Thinking about it, Clara Ocean suspected they didn't intend for the books to remain readable at all. She imagined asking them later, and they would probably say, "It wasn't our fault, the wild beasts around here played with the books." Honestly, Clara Ocean deeply suspected that the demons carrying the books had let a pack of wild animals fight over them. The soldiers carried Clara Ocean and the tattered texts back to Falling Blossom City, yet they still maintained cheerful attitudes. When copying the texts, Henry Lake had instructed the Fox demons to make 3 extra copies, intending to give them to 3 Golden Core Masters of the Keys family. However, he carefully selected only the basic to advanced techniques. During these past few days on the road, with nothing else to do, Clara Ocean had reviewed the Herbal and Mineral Compendium twice. She gained a basic understanding of some herbs she had never seen before. Now, she no longer had to rely on intuition to determine whether most herbs were edible. Watching the soldiers respectfully hand over the torn books to the city lord, Clara Ocean made up a few lies and then planned to head home for some sleep. City Lord asked a few casual questions, such as, "Where have you been these days? Was the road dangerous?" Just the usual polite inquiries. After all, since this was caused by the demon clan, City Lord was merely going through the motions. Before returning, she had Eighth Uncle take her to gather some fresh herbs nearby as evidence. Passing through the checkpoint easily, she returned home, but found herself frustrated, not for any particular reason, just that the ground was too dusty. While Clara Ocean stood dazed in front of her house, Simon Lee, whom she hadn't seen in a long time, came skipping happily toward her. Seeing Simon Lee, Clara Ocean was even more delighted than he was and shouted loudly, "Stop running around. Go grab a broom and clean up for me. The dust is so thick I can't live here anymore." Simon Lee stumbled and nearly fell, his eyes welling up with tears. He had thought she truly missed him, only to realize she missed him to make him clean her house. After some time, the room was finally livable again. Clara Ocean tossed Simon Lee a bottle of pills, noting that his cultivation level was still advancing rapidly. She asked, "Any news?" Simon Lee hesitated slightly before replying, "The Keys family was wiped out. Rumor has it that the mastermind was the young master of the Scott family, but it seems the Shui family might have incited it. Of course, these are just rumors, not very reliable." Clara Ocean sneered, "Doesn't matter. Dream River Mountain won't have peace anyway. Since they've caught my attention, they won't have a good ending." Simon Lee shivered, and Clara Ocean gave a sinister smile. "You've already boarded the pirate ship, there's no turning back. Still, don't say I didn't give you a way out. Once I head to Dream River Mountain, you should run immediately. Go to Flying Crossing Ridge, Valley of 10,000 Flowers, or Falling Sound Mountain, anywhere. Look for the Keys family members in Dream River City. ### Chapter 23, Simon Lee's Foundation Establishment. Simon Lee stuck out his tongue. You've already planned this far ahead? Clara Ocean snapped impatiently, doesn't your family still have relatives? I suggest they start preparing to flee now. As for you, you can't leave yet. Tomorrow is the grand opening. Pay attention, if you can gather any ingredients for Foundation Establishment pills, you'll profit greatly. Judging by your cultivation, you're close to Foundation Establishment, aren't you? Simon Lee replied sheepishly, actually, it's just me and my younger sister left in my family. We both need Foundation Establishment pills, but we haven't been able to find any for sale, and we don't dare to leave the city to search for ingredients. Clara Ocean nodded. You two should just stay in the city. I'll think of a way to get the ingredients. For now, keep a low profile, being forgotten is best. I have no intention of collecting your corpse. Simon Lee nodded, indicating he understood. The next day, Clara Ocean was escorted by the City Lord Steward to the City Lord's mansion. This time, she was treating a Ling Yun python. Although its rank hadn't dropped significantly, it had fallen to the early golden core stage. Clara Ocean had already made up her mind, if the City Lord offered a reward, she would request a recipe for Foundation Establishment pills along with 1 or 2 sets of ingredients and some materials for alchemy practice at the golden core stage. As expected, the City Lord barely said a few words before asking what reward she wanted. Clara Ocean straightforwardly replied, the recipe for Foundation Establishment pills, along with 1 or 2 sets of ingredients, and some additional golden core stage alchemy recipes for practice. The City Lord ordered the steward to fetch the items. After the steward left, the City Lord looked at Clara Ocean seriously and asked, have you considered joining Dream River Mountain? Clara Ocean thought for a moment and gave a vague answer, I probably won't starve, right? Would you mind giving me 2 days to think about it? After all, joining a sect means following a lot of rules. City Lord calmly smiled and politely said, of course, that's your freedom. However, if you enter Dream River Mountain, you will be considered a disciple of the Scott family. Are you willing to accept that? Clara Ocean scratched her head, somewhat helplessly, and replied, City Lord, sir, could you not trouble a small friend like me with such questions? I have no particular thoughts about these things. As long as I can receive the appropriate benefits, I'll be satisfied. Falling Blossom City Lord naturally responded, that's absolutely not a problem. Rather than saying Clara Ocean seriously considered this matter, it would be more accurate to say she was giving Simon Lee time to escape. Returning to the courtyard, Simon Lee was already waiting at the door. After the two entered, Clara Ocean decisively said, you have 1 night. Escape quickly and head towards North City. The mountains there are filled with magical beasts, so you won't be easily discovered. Wait for a few days, and I will come to find you. By then, I'll help both of you establish your foundation. Simon Lee was about to say something but, upon seeing Clara Ocean's cold gaze, he could only nod, turn around, and prepare to leave. She irritably said, wait by the door. Understanding her meaning, Simon Lee obediently stood by the door. Clara Ocean transformed into a fox, feeling both heartache and reluctance as she plucked a small tuft of her fox fur. She carefully handed it to Simon Lee and solemnly said, with this, even if you enter the lair of magical beasts, no one will harm you. This is your protective charm. No one would dare disrespect it. However, don't go picking fights with their offspring. Even if you're injured, you won't die. Simon Lee nodded seriously, secretly wiping sweat as he thought, this girl. Do I look like someone so ignorant? Everyone knows that magical beasts are most protective of their young. Turning back home, he took his younger sister and fled the city. He knew that if they didn't escape today, the days ahead would be anything but peaceful. Without overthinking, he led his sister stealthily towards the north, to the mountain of magical beasts. Simon Lee's younger sister, Sophia Lee, saw her brother heading towards the magical beast's territory and quickly reminded him, "Brother, that's the magical beast's domain." Simon Lee handed half of the fox fur to his sister and said, "Keep this safe. This is our life-saving charm. With it, nothing will happen to us." Indeed, they would be safe. Magical beasts have very keen senses, and Clara Ocean's fox fur carried not only a human scent but also the aroma of herbs and the intimidating aura of the fox deity. One sniff was enough for the beasts to recognize the owner of the fur. Following the scent of the fox fur, a group of magical beasts gathered around Simon Lee and his sister. However, they only observed and did not attack, which left the siblings astonished. Soon, a large magical beast appeared before them. Understanding the situation, Simon Lee and his sister stopped. The magical beast transformed into a human form and asked, "Where did you get the fox fur on you?" Simon Lee, slightly frightened, replied, "Miss Clara Ocean of Falling Blossom City gave it to us. She told me to bring my sister to the magical beast mountain for refuge and wait for her arrival." The magical beast nodded, waved its hand, and led the two deeper into the mountain. Along the way, it instructed the smaller beasts to guard the perimeter. If Clara Ocean arrived, they were to escort her directly into the deep mountains. If it was anyone unrelated, they were to kill them on sight. This very nascent soul-level magical beast was the reason several innocent disciples from Dream River Mountain, who had descended for training, met untimely deaths. As for Simon Lee and his sister, they lived leisurely days. Their food and wild fruits were brought daily by the magical beasts. All they needed to do was stay put. Occasionally, when in a good mood, they would offer a few pills to curry favor with the surrounding magical beasts. When working for Clara Ocean, Simon Lee kept a small portion of high-grade pills, which he respectfully presented to the Great Demon. After some conversation, the Great Demon learned he was Clara Ocean's assistant, naturally treating him with some courtesy. They truly spent a pleasant time together. In Falling Blossom City, Clara Ocean didn't set up a stall but instead closed her doors to visitors for 3 days. Later, she arranged for someone to inform the steward that she agreed to what the city lord had previously mentioned. However, before returning, she noticed some herbs in the demon beast forest that would be ready for harvest in a few days. She informed them that she would return after gathering the herbs, which would take 2 or 3 days. That night, Clara Ocean snuck out of the city. The northern gate guards initially intended to follow her, but they were forced back by demon beasts along the way. The small demons in the area were known for their territorial behavior, something Falling Blossom City residents were well aware of. Guided by a small demon, Clara Ocean quickly found Simon Lee and his sister, Sophia Lee. Tossing each of them a bottle of Foundation Establishment pills, Clara Ocean calmly said, "You have 3 days to break through. If not, you're on your own. I can help with the tribulation lightning, but you'll have to deal with the heart demon yourselves." It was initially assumed that Simon Lee would be the first to undergo the tribulation, but surprisingly, Sophia Lee went first. Embarrassed, Simon Lee remarked, "My sister has always been more talented than me, this is perfectly normal." The surrounding demons gave Simon Lee disdainful looks. In the demon clan's view, the elder brother should always lead, even in facing tribulations. If the elder brother failed, he would lose the respect of his younger siblings. Simon Lee, however, didn't feel ashamed. Instead, he blamed himself, saying, "If it weren't for my incompetence holding my sister back, she would have succeeded in Foundation Establishment long ago. My sister is truly gifted." Clara Ocean and the observing demons exchanged glances and collectively ignored Simon Lee's statement, believing his talent to be average at best. For Clara Ocean, the Foundation Establishment process was simple. Sophia Lee's tribulation went smoothly, she consumed 2 Foundation Establishment pills and succeeded without encountering the heart demon. Watching Sophia Lee temper her body, Clara Ocean noted how fragile human bodies were. Even with more than half the tribulation lightning remaining, Sophia Lee was already at her limit. Simon Lee's tribulation, on the other hand, was nerve-wracking. He consumed 3 Foundation establishment pills just to summon the heavenly tribulation. After much difficulty, the heavenly tribulation ended, but he still had to endure the heart demon tribulation. Observing demons around him felt exhausted just watching the human struggle. After a week, Simon Lee finally recovered and officially became a Foundation establishment cultivator. However, even Clara Ocean dismissed the idea of him ever forming a golden core, deeming it impossible. If someone like him could become a golden core cultivator, it would defy all logic. Clara Ocean happily refined all the herbs stored by the surrounding demon beasts into pills. She then asked Alexander King to escort Simon Lee and Sophia Lee out of Falling Blossom City's territory. Before leaving, Simon Lee mentioned his intention to head to Heavenly Marshall Mountain. The demon beasts, knowing their destination, decided to escort them further to ensure their safety. They understood that if anything happened to the siblings, Clara Ocean, known as the Mad Fox Alchemist, would exact her wrath on them, a risk no one wanted to take. Safety was their priority, even if it meant going the extra mile. Additionally, from the pills Clara Ocean refined, aside from the 5 used for the tribulation, the siblings still had 10 remaining. Clara Ocean handed over the rest, giving Alexander King a bottle of 15 pills and the remaining 20 to Simon Lee and Sophia Lee as travel provisions. Simon Lee also carried a good number of low-grade pills. As long as the siblings were satisfied, the demons hoped they might receive some pills as a reward. Regarding the other pills, aside from keeping a few for the Golden Core stage and Foundation establishment stage, the rest were all handed over to Alexander King. Simon Lee, being clever, would surely offer some to Alexander King when the time came. Even after making the offering, he had to ensure enough for his own survival. Alexander King naturally understood that as long as he didn't embezzle to the point where Simon Lee and his sister couldn't survive, Fox Alchemist wouldn't make things difficult for them. Of course, they wouldn't dare to embezzle too much either. After Clara Ocean left, Simon Lee wisely handed over all the Foundation establishment pills in his possession to Alexander King. With a sly smile, he said, "Lord Alexander King, my sister and I still rely on your care. This is just a small token of respect from us." Alexander King happily accepted. He knew that the pills Simon Lee handed over were actually quite useless. They were primarily used during the Foundation establishment process and rarely had any other application. However, these pills had a significant market value in the mortal world. Pretending to be uneasy, he asked, "Isn't this inappropriate? These were given to you by the alchemist for your livelihood." Simon Lee cheerfully replied, "It's fine, it's fine. Previously, when you asked Miss Fox to refine pills, she left us with enough for our needs. As for spirit stones, once we settle down, I'll figure out a way to earn them. No need to worry about food and clothing." Alexander King understood that Fox Alchemist was the benefactor Simon Lee had managed to secure. In the end, Alexander King escorted the two to the Heavenly Marshall Mountain and even returned a few Foundation establishment pills to them. After all, these pills were merely used to level up the young ones, but for Simon Lee and his sister, a single pill could last them for months. Chapter 24, Episode 24. Dream River Mountain. Alexander King had no intention of being overly greedy. If they ended up struggling, and Fox Alchemist became enraged, it wouldn't end well. The demon clan valued strength above all else. Not to mention other factors, just Clara Ocean's title as the spirit of the fox god was enough to keep a golden core demon beast like him in check. Moreover, she was royalty of the Lake clan, her mother was Fairy Lake, and she was a rare alchemist in the demon clan. Not to mention, she had saved the first demon emperor and had a record of defeating 3 demon emperors simultaneously. Any one of these reasons was enough to take his life, a mere golden core demon beast. Most importantly, Clara Ocean was also at the Golden Core stage. Though not a demon core, she possessed 9 cores, 8 more than him, making her undefeatable for him. Thus, no matter how greedy he was, he wouldn't dare to embezzle excessively. The consequences, the wrath, it was beyond what he could bear. Clara Ocean returned once again to Falling Blossom City. The city lord had arranged everything properly and sent a steward to personally escort her to Dream River Mountain. She entered the sect outside of the usual recruitment period and was immediately accepted as a disciple by a Golden Core master. Her master appeared to be a man in his 30s, and without ceremony, he piled a heap of medicinal herbs in front of her. Clara Ocean gritted her teeth. Wasn't this outright bullying? She wanted to complain. Despite her thoughts, she accepted a private room, adhering to her principle of not allowing outsiders to observe her alchemy process. She worked alone in her room. Knowing Clara Ocean didn't have the habit of buying medicine bottles, her room was stocked with various bottles, large and small. Days passed, and Clara Ocean, frustrated, dragged her opportunistic master into her room. Pointing to the table, she angrily said, "It's all here. According to the rules, I've taken a small portion for myself. If you want it, exchange it for spirit stones. Also, I want to sleep." Watching her master silently clean up the items, Clara Ocean quickly pushed him out of the room and wrote on the door, "Disturb my sleep, and you'll die." Turning over, she happily went to sleep. Her opportunistic master, now standing outside the door, looked dumbfounded and speechless. After Clara Ocean had slept to her heart's content, she instinctively went out to find food. However, after wandering through several mountains, she still couldn't find a place to eat. What made her even more helpless was that she didn't even know where she had ended up. The most tragic thing was that Clara Ocean seemed not to even know the name of her so-called master. Sob sob, how unlucky. Just as she squatted on the ground, drawing circles and lamenting, a teasing voice rang out, "Whose little sister is this? Lost your way?" Clara Ocean, with tears welling up in her eyes, looked up. It was a young man with a very ordinary face, appearing to be around 14 or 15 years old, with cultivation at only the 5th level of chi refining. The young man laughed even more cheerfully, "I'm Peter Campbell." "And you?" Clara Ocean replied honestly, "Clara Ocean." Peter Campbell squinted his eyes with a smile and said, "Where are you from? I'll take you back." Clara Ocean glared at him and said irritably, "If I knew, would I need you?" Peter Campbell's expression froze slightly. He asked, "Do you know which mountain you're on?" Clara Ocean decisively shook her head. "Did you meet anyone when you came up the mountain?" Clara Ocean nodded, then shook her head again. Peter Campbell helplessly slapped his forehead and said, "I finally understand why you're squatting here drawing circles. What do you actually know?" Clara Ocean thought for a long time before saying, "My so-called master is at the mid-golden core stage, belongs to the Scott family lineage. Whether their surname is Scott or not, I don't know. I just arrived, and my master didn't say much, only told me to work. When I woke up, I went to find food, and this is the result." Peter Campbell commented helplessly, "Goodness, your master is way too irresponsible. But luckily, they have a surname, and their rank isn't low, so it'll be easy to find. However, there's no place to eat in the sect, food is only available at the External Affairs Hall." Clara Ocean nodded and asked in confusion, "Where is the External Affairs Hall?" Peter Campbell, at a loss for words, tied a piece of cloth around Clara Ocean's hand to prevent her from getting lost again, then led her to the External Affairs Hall. Before long, they arrived at a place resembling a dining hall. An outer disciple quickly approached and asked, "Senior brother, what would you like?" Peter Campbell looked at Clara Ocean. Clara Ocean straightforwardly said, "I'll have meat." "Does it require payment here?" Peter Campbell slapped his forehead and said, "No, it doesn't." Clara Ocean excitedly said, "Then give me more. I eat a lot." The outer disciples remained silent, but since Peter Campbell was clearly an inner disciple, they didn't dare say anything. Peter Campbell curiously asked, "Where's your sect uniform?" Clara Ocean tilted her head and asked, "Is your clothing like that?" "I've never seen it. No one told me I had to wear the same." Peter Campbell fell completely silent. The food was served quickly, and Clara Ocean was happily eating when suddenly an unpleasant voice rang out. "Who dares to eat here without permission?" A person dressed similarly to Peter Campbell, though slightly different, rudely sat down next to them. He sneered, "Oh, I see. So it's Peter Campbell, who just got back from outside. Is this little one a relative of yours?" Clara Ocean ignored the person across from her and continued eating while asking Peter Campbell, "What are these guys doing?" Peter Campbell introduced, "Wearing such attire signifies they are outer disciples, they are members of the Taylor family." Noticing Clara Ocean's curious gaze, Peter Campbell hesitantly added, "I'm a cultivator recruited from Falling Blossom City, barely considered an outer member of the Scott family. It's only recently, after some progress in my cultivation, that I've been admitted as an inner disciple, though at the lowest rank." Clara Ocean nodded while continuing to eat, as she hadn't eaten for days. Seeing her ignore him, the burly man reached out to snatch Clara Ocean's meager food. Furious, Clara Ocean bit his wrist, leaving a row of teeth marks. Peter Campbell seized the opportunity and kicked the man to the ground, angrily saying, "Stephen Taylor, stop causing trouble. She's not someone you can mess with." Even though Peter Campbell didn't yet know who Clara Ocean's master was, being a disciple of a Golden Core master meant she was far beyond the reach of an outer disciple. Stephen Taylor, still arrogant, prepared to slam the table, but just then, a group of people barged in. The crowd was startled. It was a group of inner disciples. Among them, a male cultivator with a slightly hoarse voice asked as soon as he arrived, "Junior sister, you're here? Master has sent us all over the sect to find you." Clara Ocean carefully observed this person, finding him quite familiar. Seeing Clara Ocean's confused expression, several inner disciples around her smacked their foreheads. A teenage girl among them spoke up, "Let me introduce us. The one who just spoke is senior brother Quentin Scott, and I'm your senior sister, Grace Scott." She then introduced everyone one by one. It seemed all the senior brothers and sisters had come. Clara Ocean scratched her head, slightly embarrassed, and asked, "What's our master's title?" The senior brothers and sisters chuckled quietly. It wasn't really her fault, she had just arrived when their master immediately put her to work refining pills. After finishing, she only wanted to grab a bite to eat. Given the circumstances, it was no wonder she got lost. Grace Scott smiled and replied, "Jason Dragon." Everyone around inhaled sharply. Jason Dragon was a Golden Core cultivator from Dream River Mountain, with the potential to break through to Nascent Soul, and a formidable figure of the Scott family. Clara Ocean nodded to show she understood, then turned to Grace Scott with a pitiful look, saying, "He tried to steal my food." Grace Scott, surprised, asked, "You still want to eat more?" Clara Ocean pouted childishly, "I need to eat a lot to grow big and strong." Everyone fell silent. Quentin Scott, however, generously instructed the steward nearby to deliver meals regularly to Azure Cloud Peak. Clara Ocean finally learned the name of her residence, Azure Cloud Peak. Clara Ocean cheerfully introduced, "This is Peter Campbell. He found me and brought me here to eat. Also, for the next few days, make him my guide." Seeing Clara Ocean's hopeful expression, Quentin Scott simply said, "As you wish." To them, having a low-ranking inner disciple serve their junior sister was a privilege earned through lifetimes of cultivation. Since she had chosen him, they would comply with her wishes. Quentin Scott turned to Peter Campbell and said, "From now on, my junior sister's safety is your responsibility. This is your blessing. If anything happens, just mention our master's name. If anyone dares to cause trouble, master will deal with it." Clara Ocean, thoughtful, pulled Quentin Scott aside and handed him 2 bottles of pills, whispering, "Consider this my gift to the senior brothers and sisters. I'd like to explore a bit more, I'll have Peter bring me back later." The senior brothers and sisters nodded, initially planning to give her a pouch of spirit stones. However, she returned it, saying, I already have plenty of spirit stones, I don't need more. The senior brothers and sisters didn't argue further, knowing Clara Ocean had earned quite a fortune in Falling Blossom City, with even the city lord still owing her payments. After eating, Clara Ocean respectfully asked Peter Campbell about the sights and landmarks of Dream River Mountain. After exploring, she had Peter escort her back. She also instructed Peter Campbell to return the next day to take her out again. That evening, her master visited her. Seeing that she didn't even know his title, he appeared helpless. Clara Ocean, for her part, felt equally exasperated with her seemingly unreliable master. They shared a moment of silent mutual understanding. Finally, Clara Ocean broke the silence, thought for a moment, and said, Hey, can we discuss something? Jason Dragon discontentedly said, Call me master. Clara Ocean pouted and replied, I'm just an errand girl, alright? I mean, you Scott family members called me here to refine pills, didn't you? Let's negotiate a bit. Jason Dragon felt helpless and said in a deep voice, Speak. Clara Ocean said, For nascent soul and below, I take 20 pills per batch of ingredients, and whatever is extra, I'll embezzle. For out-of-body stage and above, the pills will be distributed based on success rate, I'll give you 4/10. Of course, if there are fewer than 10 pills, then I'll keep 1 or 2 for myself. If there's only 1 pill, I'll give it to you. Hashtag chapter 25, Jason Dragon asked irritably, Do you expect me to buy the pills from your stall with spirit stones? Clara Ocean smirked mischievously and said, Isn't the Scott family running a spirit stone mine? Instead of selling to you, I'd rather sell at a higher price to other families. Naturally, I'll take a percentage. Jason Dragon twitched his lips and asked, For example. Clara Ocean replied seriously, I want to open a shop with the sect. I'll give you 4/10 and 2/10 to others, they'll be overjoyed. Jason Dragon's face darkened slightly as she continued, The key is, you should give me a few assistants. At most, I'll share some spirit stones with you. I want to refine pills, but running back and forth is troublesome. Of course, if anyone dares to cause trouble for me, you deal with them. At least give me some moral support or encouragement. Jason Dragon chuckled and asked, Just encouragement? Aren't you afraid of being killed? Clara Ocean arrogantly replied, If they have the guts, they can kill me outright. Otherwise, let's see who gets unlucky. Even if the Scott family doesn't act, I don't believe that offering 2 or 3 bottles of nascent soul pills or out-of-body pills won't attract someone to take on the task. They won't stand a chance. Jason Dragon finally understood what it meant to be truly wealthy. This kind of playstyle, even he, a golden core cultivator, couldn't handle. At this point, Clara Ocean curiously asked, Is there a place here where I can hire assassins? Jason Dragon slapped his forehead, looking defeated as he said, You can go to the Steward Hall to post a task. But it requires a lot of money. And don't call it hiring assassins, it's called posting a task. Clara Ocean arrogantly replied, It's fine. I'm so poor that all I have left is money. Hiring assassins is hiring assassins. Anyway, when the time comes, you're the one running the errands. Jason Dragon felt struck by lightning, finally understanding why the family demanded he take good care of this little brat. She's ridiculously rich. How many cultivators dare to proclaim they're so poor they only have spirit stones left? But thinking about it, it made sense. She really only had spirit stones, lots and lots of spirit stones. Currently, even the head of the Scott family didn't have as much wealth as this little girl. Rumor has it that in Falling Blossom City, the city lord's place still has plenty of unexchanged spirit stones lying around. Clara Ocean thought for a moment and said, Help me take on some big deals, jobs suitable for nascent soul and above. Make sure they come with pill recipes, even if they're from out-of-body seniors, I'll dare to take them on. Clara Ocean spoke with great arrogance. Jason Dragon regained his composure and seriously asked, out-of-body, divine transformation pills, how confident are you? Clara Ocean thought for a moment and replied, 50%. Jason Dragon asked, so you mean one batch succeeds, one batch fails? Clara Ocean's face immediately darkened. She explained bitterly to her master, 50 pills equal 10 parts, even top-tier experts can only guarantee 9 parts. 50% means one batch at most yields about 20 pills. At this point, Clara Ocean said with dissatisfaction, do you really think I'm like those freeloaders? Do you even know how many spirit stones City Lord of Falling Summer City gave me? Jason Dragon looked rather embarrassed. Jason Dragon cautiously asked, other families all have their own alchemists. How do you plan to compete for business? Clara Ocean scoffed, I know. They're the type who might only get one pill out of several batches. Competing in alchemy skills. I've never feared anyone. At worst, I'll just impose economic sanctions on them. Jason Dragon asked with interest, economic sanctions? Clara Ocean nodded and said, exactly. If competing in pill refinement success rates with me isn't reliable, then besides killing me, they'll have no choice but to buy pills from me. And what's the consequence of that? I don't need to spell it out for you, do I, old man? Jason Dragon was left speechless, his head full of ellipses. Was his disciple perhaps a bit too bold? Jason Dragon probed further, that Peter Campbell, do you plan to keep him around? Clara Ocean thought for a moment and said, I still need someone to run errands. Do you expect senior brothers and sisters to go contact other families? This kind of work is best suited for small-time characters. Jason Dragon nodded, reasoning that even if he sent his other disciples, they'd probably slack off most of the time. Clara Ocean added after some thought, oh, right. If you take on high-grade pill refinements, you'll need to give me plenty of time. After all, my level is what it is. If the gap is too large and there's not enough time, don't even think about successful results. I won't be able to deliver a finished product. Jason Dragon nodded, no need to remind me of that. If you're clear about it, just go ahead. Whatever it is, the Scott family will back you up. What he said next nearly made Jason Dragon, despite his composure, spit out an old mouthful of blood onto Clara Ocean's face. Clara Ocean grinned mischievously and said, in the end, laundering money still suits you best. Jason Dragon was now drenched in sweat. Was this little girl perhaps too audacious? The decision was made just like that. Clara Ocean sent Jason Dragon off and then went to sleep. The next morning, Clara Ocean brought along the breakfast that had been delivered and, together with Peter Campbell, headed to the market fair in Dream Summer Mountain. This was the trading hub for the cultivators of Dream Summer Mountain, so the items sold were transactions exclusively between disciples. The trading market was primarily managed by 5 nascent soul elders and their respective families. Initially, Jason Dragon had planned to get Clara Ocean a stall, but she smirked mischievously and said, just snatch one from someone else. After all, we're rich. Around her, the senior brothers and sisters immediately fell silent in response to their junior sister's bold statement. Knowing there would inevitably be a fight the next day, they were prepared to head straight into it. Unexpectedly, Clara Ocean said, wait until I call you all over, and then come. At least delay for half an hour. Grace Scott, deeply concerned about her junior sister's safety and puzzled by her intentions, asked, why? Won't you suffer a loss? Clara Ocean seriously questioned, do you all really want to sell pills to the Taylor family? Everyone shook their heads in rare agreement. Clara Ocean then bluntly stated, then let me take a bigger loss. That way, we can openly refuse to deal with them and trick them out of their money. Still brimming with excitement, Clara Ocean added, when the time comes to negotiate, just demand 100 times the usual price. It'll be so satisfying. If they don't pay in spirit stones, just ignore them. I don't believe those little ones won't come begging to me. And if they don't, I'm sure their nascent soul elders will. Let's see who loses out. After finishing her bold declaration, Clara Ocean gleefully wiggled her small hips and waved her fingers in delight. The senior brothers and sisters broke into a cold sweat. Was this little junior sister going too far? Nevertheless, given the long-standing feud between the Scott family and the Taylor family, hearing that the Taylor family was about to be outplayed left them thrilled as they began making preparations. Grace Scott, still uneasy, asked, "What if the Taylor family retaliates desperately?" Clara Ocean cheerfully replied, "Fine by me. If they've got money to burn, let them. No matter how skilled their alchemist is, it has nothing to do with me. But I do know that the city lord of Falling Blossom City owes me a mountain of debts. Let's see who burns out first." Pft, pft, pft. Several muffled laughs erupted. Grace Scott laughed so hard she trembled and said, "Their alchemist can barely produce one golden core pill after several attempts. Competing in alchemy with you? You'd probably drive that old man to death out of frustration." Clara Ocean feigned sympathy and said, "I truly feel sorry for the head of their family. An alchemist like that is such a scam." Grace Scott muttered under her breath, "No, it's you who's abnormal. That kind of alchemist is actually normal." Clara Ocean smugly asked, "Then would you prefer someone like me or someone like him?" For a moment, everyone around felt a sense of pity for the head of the Taylor family. There was no doubt about it, this time, the Taylor family was doomed. Grace Scott was not afraid of stirring up trouble. She brought the matter to Jason Dragon, who, upon hearing it, was filled with dark lines of exasperation. However, over the past few days, he had been helping with communications and was well aware of the scarcity of high-grade pills. Tomorrow, when this girl makes her move, the Taylor family will undoubtedly suffer terribly. Still, he was more than happy to watch the drama unfold. The next day, Clara Ocean slept until noon before cheerfully rushing out. Peter Campbell had been cultivating outside her door all morning. For Peter, this was a rare opportunity, and he naturally didn't mind Clara sleeping in. However, when Clara stepped outside and saw Peter at her door, she felt a bit helpless. Clara weakly asked, "Why do you think knocking on my door would get you beaten?" Peter broke into a sweat, thankful he hadn't rashly knocked. Grinning sheepishly, he replied, "Ah, thanks to your generosity, I can cultivate in such a spiritually rich place. I was just being lazy and wanted to practice a bit more." Clara remained silent. After a moment, Clara said, "Well, if you don't mind the trouble, you can just lay out a mat by my door. But today, are you sure you want to take me there? You might end up being the first to get revenge taken on you." Peter nervously asked, "What's the likelihood of being retaliated against?" He needed to weigh whether this task was worth it. Clara confidently replied, "Guaranteed retaliation. However, if you handle it well, they won't be able to take revenge on you. Of course, you'll need to win over my senior sisters, they might protect you." Peter considered this and said, "I'll do it with you. You're an alchemist, and being with you means I'll benefit." Clara happily patted Peter's leg, though she couldn't quite reach it, showing her approval. Clara thought for a moment and said, "Hey, you're currently at the 5th level of chi refinement. Don't be picky, when you have free time, try to win over my senior brothers and sisters. If one of them takes a liking to you, you'll profit." Peter quickly seized the opportunity and said, "Then why don't you take me in?" Clara looked at him seriously and said, "Follow me? It's not safe. But because of what you just said, as long as you don't cross the line, I'll protect you." Peter felt a bit confused by her words, and for good reason. The term, "this seat," she used was typically reserved for nascent soul elders or higher. As they stared at each other, Peter realized she might have a peculiar way of expressing herself. He corrected her, saying, "The term, 'this seat,' is usually used by nascent soul elders or above." Clara looked up at the sky, pretending not to hear him, and focused on her fingers. After a moment of silence, Peter turned and led the way. Halfway there, Clara suddenly said, "Hey, if there's a fight later, hide behind me. Don't foolishly charge forward. While I haven't reached the level of this seat, I'm much stronger than you think. Even someone at this seat level might not be able to defeat me." Chapter 26, The Scott Family and the Taylor Family. Peter Campbell, though astonished, nodded and continued walking for a while before suddenly saying, "No matter what purpose you have in coming here, as long as you trust me, I am willing to risk life and limb for you." Clara Ocean pouted and laughed. "Risking your life is unnecessary. You just end up dead. Since you've said that, I won't be stingy either. Remember this, if I tell you to run, you run immediately. Don't ask why. If something big happens, even I might have to flee. Got it?" Peter Campbell nodded, once again confirming that this alchemist was not someone easy to rely on. Peter Campbell wasn't foolish, her words were clear, and he naturally knew his limits. Clara Ocean continued, "Starting tomorrow, I'll have you run errands. Any pills you manage to skim off, after deducting the share for the Scott family, you can keep the rest. I don't need them. Save up some capital for yourself, it'll be handy if you need to escape. I've already told you, so handle it yourself." Peter Campbell nodded absent-mindedly. The two walked along and soon arrived at the trading market. Once inside, Peter Campbell leaned close to Clara Ocean and pointed at different areas, saying, "This belongs to the Taylor family, that one to the Scott family, over there is the Nguyen family, that area is the Shui family, and that section belongs to the Lin family. Lastly, the smallest section is for cultivators without family affiliations." Clara Ocean scanned the area and noticed an empty stall in the Taylor family's section. Although other stalls were also vacant, since the Taylor family always bullied her, she decided to target them first. While observing the stall, a mocking voice rang out, "Oh, big brother, isn't this the arrogant little apprentice of Jason Dragon from yesterday?" It was none other than Stephen Taylor from the day before. Clara Ocean and Peter Campbell turned their heads. Clara Ocean couldn't hide her confusion, while Peter Campbell quickly explained, "That's the second young master of the Taylor family, the second heir of the third generation." Clara Ocean pouted and asked Peter Campbell, "How does one rent a stall?" Peter Campbell pointed to a table near the entrance, where a man was napping, and said, "That's the manager in charge of stall rentals. You can rent from him, it's usually calculated by the day." Clara Ocean, delighted, skipped over to the manager and sweetly said, "Brother, I'd like to rent that stall." She pointed excitedly to the stall in the Taylor family's section that she had her eyes on. Stephen Taylor continued to mock, "Humph, you want to rent a stall from the Taylor family? Have you asked the second young master for permission?" Clara Ocean merely glanced at him before turning her eager gaze back to the manager. The manager looked pitifully at Clara Ocean, then pitifully at the second young master of the Taylor family. The second young master finally spoke up, "If you, someone from the Scott family, want to rent a stall from us, it's possible, 10 mid-grade spirit stones per day, with a minimum rental period of 1 year. However, don't say I didn't warn you. Even if you rent it, I'll make sure you can't do any business." Clara Ocean scoffed, "Does your rental process require a signed and stamped contract? If you provide a signed and stamped rental agreement, there's no problem." The second young master of the Taylor family replied, "Of course, there's a contract." Clara Ocean said to the manager, "Calculated, how many spirit stones in total?" The manager timidly replied, "Miss, those are mid-grade spirit stones." Stephen Taylor added, "Little girl, go home and get some money." Clara Ocean disdainfully glanced at the Taylor family crowd, casually tossed out several pouches of spirit stones, and politely said to the manager, "Count them yourself. If it's not enough, there's more." Everyone was stunned. Clara Ocean sneered, "You must be the second son, right? Didn't your elder brother tell you that I'm so broke I only have money left? Didn't your family tell you that I still have a pile of debts at the city lord's mansion in Falling Blossom City? Very quickly, the official in charge of leasing calculated the total and informed second young master Taylor, "Second young master, the total is 3,660 coins." Second young master Taylor bluntly said, 5,000 mid-grade spirit stones for a year. Clara Ocean arrogantly told the official, "All right, once you've counted enough, draft the contract." The surrounding onlookers all shared the same thought: rich, foolish, and easy to deceive. Stephen Taylor chimed in, "Second young master sure knows how to make money." While they were feeling smug, Grace Scott and others entered. Clara Ocean grabbed the contract and directly handed it to Grace Scott. She took a deep breath, then pretended to cry, clutching Grace Scott's hand and wailing, "Senior sister, the Taylor family is so wicked, charging me so many mid-grade spirit stones for just a stall, boo-hoo." Clara Ocean feigned tears. At that moment, as they were teary-eyed, a commanding voice rang out, "Who dares bully my precious disciple?" The newcomer was none other than Jason Dragon, who had come to see the commotion. Grace Scott happily ran over and recounted how Clara Ocean was extorted and easily deceived. Although Jason Dragon was one of the wealthy Golden Core masters, even he would grit his teeth at the thought of throwing out 5,000 mid-grade spirit stones at once. Unexpectedly, this girl joyfully tossed out such a large amount. The Taylor family had it coming. If they wanted to pick a fight, they shouldn't have chosen this rich girl. The most tragic part was that this girl had no concept of the value of spirit stones. If you asked her what a mid-grade spirit stone was worth, she'd tell you it couldn't even buy a single pill. Clara Ocean cheerfully said, "Master, since you're here, don't leave empty-handed. I've lost big today, you need to give me something to save face." Jason Dragon chuckled and asked, "What do you want?" He was certain it wouldn't be money. Clara Ocean grinned mischievously and said, "Make me a signboard. It should say, from Chi refining to Golden Core, each prescription can receive 10 related pills the next day. For nascent soul, one prescription will yield 8 related pills within 3 days, along with the prescription. For soul formation and above, pills will be delivered within 7 to 15 days, at least 1 pill, with the prescription." At the bottom, write in big, bold letters, "Anyone with the surname Taylor will not be served. If someone buys on their behalf, the buyer will also be refused service next time." Clara Ocean gritted her teeth in frustration, and the senior brothers and sisters nearby couldn't help but laugh. Jason Dragon also chuckled and said, "Little girl, since you've already spent so much, why not spend a bit more? If you have something good, I'll invite the nascent soul patriarch to write for you." Without blinking, Clara Ocean casually tossed a bottle of pills to her master and said with a begrudging tone, "1 nascent soul pill per sentence. By the way, tell the nascent soul patriarch that in a few days, the Steward Hall has a task involving nascent soul pills. See if the elder is interested. The task is extremely simple, it can be completed by sending 2 subordinates." After speaking, Clara Ocean fiercely glared at second young master Taylor, her meaning clear, "Just you wait." She continued speaking to Jason Dragon, "Oh, and help me find a few people to manage the stall. They'll be responsible for collecting medicinal ingredients and keeping detailed records for me. If there's any issue with the ingredients, I'll cross-check immediately. If there's anything uncertain or poisonous, make sure to record its effects to avoid being framed later." Eventually, Quentin Scott voluntarily took on this job, staying at the stall to oversee it daily. After Jason Dragon left, except for the eldest senior brother, the others departed as well. Clara Ocean then instructed Peter Campbell, "Go recruit some outer sect disciples. For the orders received, you can handle the transactions accordingly. Remember, do not do business with the Taylor family. Record every transaction, and if something seems off, don't proceed. It's better to do less business than to break the rules." Peter Campbell nodded seriously, knowing that since Clara Ocean dared to assign him tasks in front of the senior brothers and sisters, he had to perform well. Otherwise, if the little girl lost face, he would be the one in trouble. Clara Ocean thought for a moment and added, "Outer sect disciples don't have much income. Collect once every 7 days, don't forget what I've told you earlier. Peter Campbell nodded again and went off to work. Clara Ocean returned to Azure Cloud Peak with a few senior brothers and sisters, who all sought tasks to assist Clara Ocean. The next day, the out-of-body patriarch Joe Campbell personally came to Clara Ocean's high-priced stall and set up a price list himself. Clara Ocean didn't say much and directly threw him a jug of wine, saying, "Take it home and drink it. If you want more, come to Azure Cloud Peak to get it from me." Joe Campbell, intrigued, said, "I'm very interested in the reward task you've posted." Clara Ocean asked skeptically, "A private reward? Are you looking for someone to handle it?" Joe Campbell replied cheerfully, "If the price is right, private transactions and applying through the Steward Hall are the same. On Dream River Mountain, I usually don't face obstacles when taking on tasks." Clara Ocean pouted and said, "Take a look at what's in your hand." Joe Campbell curiously opened the wine jug, and after just a sniff, he exclaimed in surprise, "Monkey wine. Little girl, you're quite generous." Clara Ocean casually handed him a bottle of pills and said, "The Taylor family's eldest son, the troublemaker in Falling Blossom City. The Taylor family's second son, who deceived me yesterday. Stephen Taylor, an outer disciple. I believe what I'm giving you is enough to buy their lives." Joe Campbell opened the bottle in his hand, clicked his tongue, and said, "Finally, I've met a generous person today. All right, with what you've given me, even if I have to deal with that old man from the Taylor family, I'll do it." Clara Ocean clicked her tongue and said, "That old man is not done playing with me yet. Assigning you these tasks is just my way of making friends with him." While they were talking, Joe Campbell suddenly let out a scream and fell to the ground. Clara Ocean slapped her forehead, and a flash of white light appeared in her hand. Joe Campbell immediately woke up, looking at Clara Ocean with a peculiar expression. Tentatively, he asked, "Would you like to visit my Peace Wind sect for a while?" Clara Ocean nodded. Joe Campbell grabbed Clara Ocean and led her to his private chamber. Only then did he ask, "Are you from the Demon Clan?" Clara Ocean replied indifferently, "Half demon. That's not the point. The point is, I'm here to cause trouble. I find you pleasing to the eye, so it's best you don't meddle in others' affairs. If you truly provoke me, bathing this place in blood won't be a problem. My highest record? I've even fought the Demon Emperor, Eric King." Joe Campbell wiped his sweat. He had heard of this before. "Are you telling me to run away? Was the past chaos also your doing?" Clara Ocean responded, "Yes. A grudge from 1,000 years ago. My current targets are only the Taylor and Scott families, as well as the Shuey family." Joe Campbell nodded and then asked, "What about the Spirit King matter?" Clara Ocean nodded again and continued, "I was originally from the Ocean family, which was exterminated by the Scott family just a few days ago." Chapter 27, the 27th episode. Destroying Dream River Mountain. Joe Campbell awkwardly asked, "Was it you who stole from the library?" Clara Ocean grinned slyly and said, "That has nothing to do with me. It was the Spirit King's younger brother who did it." Joe Campbell broke into a sweat again. After pondering for a moment, he said, "Back then, I was also involved in saving the Spirit King." Clara Ocean simply replied, before saying, "All right, tell me about the current situation." Joe Campbell thought for a moment and said, "I rarely inquire about external matters, but the Scott and Taylor families are in turmoil. The situation with the other 3 families is unclear. Back then, it was the 3 of us who planned everything. The remaining families are newly promoted ones. I hope you can spare them." Clara Ocean continued, "All right, agree to a few conditions for me. If you handle them well, I'll let this go. But if you oppose me, you'll face the consequences." Joe Campbell asked, "Can you protect me?" Clara Ocean said, "Protecting you is just a one-time thing. If you make it so I can't explain myself to others, then cleansing this place with blood would actually be simpler." Joe Campbell remained silent. He found it hard to comprehend. Joe Campbell still asked, "What do you want me to do?" Clara Ocean smirked sinisterly and said, "Let's put it this way, my targets are the Scott family and the Taylor family. The sooner I wipe them out, the sooner I'm done. As for you, as long as you don't aim at the Demon Clan, I'll speak to them. They should give me some respect and won't bother causing you trouble anymore. Oh, by the way, the bee spirits from my house have taken a liking to some plants on Dream River Mountain. Negotiate with them for me, I'll buy them. Also, while you're at it, check on the current situation of the Water family and see if the Keys family's matters are related to them. I've heard someone instigated the Scott family." Joe Campbell thought to himself, apart from those brainless people in the Taylor family, who would dare set you up like this? He forced a smile and said, "All right, I'll talk to them. I'll handle this matter. However, regarding Falling Blossom City, it seems my disciples know more about it. According to them, the Water family only learned about this 2 days ago. This issue is likely fabricated by the Scott family." Clara Ocean's mouth twitched. After thinking for a moment, she told Joe Campbell, "Fine then, just warn the Water family to stay vigilant and not interfere with my matters." Joe Campbell nodded, knowing full well that if the Demon Clan got involved, a bloodbath would be inevitable. The next day, Clara Ocean ordered Oscar Lewis to list the plants they had recorded and compile a reliable inventory. She asked Jason Dragon to hand it over to Joe Campbell with a note, 10 of each type would suffice. For plants, count them by 10 branches, for flowers, count them as 10 whole plants, complete with intact roots. A few days later, several families, including the Water family, obediently handed over the herbs, exceeding expectations by twice the amount. Clara Ocean then instructed Oscar Lewis to deliver a complete set of plants to Uncle Owen Lewis. With this collection, their species could thrive and propagate. Incidentally, she also asked Oscar Lewis to speak with the nearby rat clans, instructing them to occasionally scavenge from the Scott family and the Taylor family, without worrying about offending Felix Wind Alchemist. Moreover, Oscar Lewis specifically pointed out that the Scott family had a lot of pills recently, urging the Rat clan to do their best. Oscar Lewis then returned directly to the Wind bloodline, while the Rat King of the Rat clan was summoned by several Demon Kings, ordering them to raid the Scott family's warehouses. As for the Taylor family, there wasn't much consideration needed since they likely had little profit left. The Rat King also understood that this time, the one instructing them was none other than Felix Wind Alchemist, whose name alone terrified the Demon Clan. Thus, they didn't hold back. The Rat King diligently directed the small demons under his command, even setting a schedule to steal during breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Naturally, Falling Blossom City was also frequently visited. What puzzled the other families was that only the Scott family and the Taylor family were targeted by the Rat clan. If other families lost items, they were sometimes lucky enough to have them returned, albeit in small quantities. This was entirely because the Rat King feared accidentally raiding Felix Wind Alchemist's house and incurring his wrath. Day by day, Clara Ocean diligently practiced alchemy and listened to gossip. Naturally, what shocked the Scott family, the Taylor family, and even Dream River Mountain was that the Scott family and the Taylor family were being robbed almost every few hours. Yet, Clara Ocean's stall at the trading center remained as bustling as ever, packed with people, leaving her busy but delighted. On the other hand, the Rat clan had turned into industrious little bees, happily relocating their homes. Initially planning to collect their loot every few days, Henry Lake this time decided to station himself there permanently, as they could gather several pounds of pills daily. In truth, most of these pills were taken by the little rats who, after being stunned, casually grabbed 1 or 2 pills nearby and returned to report. Perhaps because the stolen amounts were so trivial, no one bothered to hold the rats accountable. After all, the Rat clan was now the dominant faction of Dream River Mountain, often appearing in large groups. Anyone foolish enough to step on them would face retaliation, though it was usually just theft of some of their belongings. While the Rat clan was enjoying themselves, members of the True Spirit clan also joined in the fun. Having previously reached an agreement with Leo Cloud, they targeted only the Scott family and the Taylor family, avoiding harming others to the point of death. Thus, the Scott family and the Taylor family found themselves haunted, their frustration growing as their study rooms were ransacked. They obediently copied 10 sets of documents for Fox Alchemist before gleefully tearing up the originals for fun. When Clara Ocean learned about this, she helplessly remarked, "Wouldn't it have been easier to just give me the originals? Isn't copying so many tiring?" The little demon of the True Spirit clan was momentarily speechless, unable to admit their leader simply enjoyed playing around. Since the True Spirit clan started their antics, disciples of the Scott family and the Taylor family occasionally died mysteriously. What left Clara Ocean exasperated was that after the True Spirit clan devoured their souls, the bodies were eyed hungrily by the Rat clan. With a wave of her hand, Clara Ocean handed over the corpses to the Rat clan. However, after witnessing one of the corpses being devoured right in front of her, Clara Ocean lost her temper. She flipped a table, chased the unruly group away, and roared after them, "Get out of here. You're making my place stink. Don't let me see you again." Hearing Clara Ocean's outburst, the Rat King and Henry Lake looked at each other in confusion. The Rat King immediately gathered his subordinates and, after understanding the situation, scolded them harshly, "You idiots, couldn't you take the bodies somewhere far away to eat? She's still a woman, couldn't you show a little decency?" Henry Lake added helplessly, "Just a reminder, you'd better evaluate that girl using human aesthetics. Even though you're small in stature, if you truly provoke her, I suspect she might set the forest on fire." The onlookers nodded seriously in agreement. The Rat King broke out in a cold sweat. Since Clara Ocean had been pestering Leo Cloud for days, Leo Cloud eventually grew annoyed and went to Joe Campbell to drink and vent. Joe Campbell, with an awkward smile, demonstrated through his actions that it was better to reconcile than waste time arguing with Clara Ocean. After 3 months, no one from the Scott family and the Taylor family remained alive. During this time, all members of the Scott and Taylor families in Dream River Mountain and Falling Blossom City were wiped out. Even their blood relatives were not spared, as the Rat King ensured no one was overlooked. Everything was resolved satisfactorily. Leo Cloud volunteered to notify the remaining members of the Keys family. Another month passed, and the surviving members of the Keys family gathered in Falling Blossom City. After cleaning up Dream River Mountain, Clara Ocean instructed them to temporarily stay in the city and divide the remaining resources among themselves. Although Joe Campbell mentioned distributing the mountains previously owned by the Scott family, a few with abundant spiritual energy were retained. These would only be divided after Clara Ocean left and confirmed she no longer needed them. Facing the 3 long-lost Golden Core elders of the Keys family, Clara Ocean spoke bluntly, "You have 2 choices. 1, stay here as the city lord. Dream River Mountain will support you, and you can train in the mountains as you wish. 2, you can sell this place to the people of Dream River Mountain and leave, just like before. Ultimately, the decision is yours." The great elder of the Keys family asked, "If we join Dream River Mountain, what are the chances of surviving safely?" Clara Ocean said, "With an out-of-body elder protecting you, I've decided to roam around anyway. You all handle things yourselves. By the way, the surrounding spirit beasts can also help you with some covert tasks." Noticing the peculiar gaze of the 3rd elder of the Keys family, Clara Ocean led him into a room, closed the door, and revealed her fox ears and tail, cutely swaying them. The 3rd elder of the Keys family was left dumbfounded. Clara Ocean reverted to her human form and explained, "My mother was the 9th princess of the Lake clan, so I am a half-demon. Shortly after my mother left, I helped her ascend to the heavens during broad daylight. As for me, I've been wandering from place to place. I don't fit in with the demon clan, so I linger around the human clan." The elders of the Keys family twitched their mouths awkwardly and humbly asked, What is your current cultivation level?" Clara Ocean pouted and glanced dismissively at the three elders around her, sneering, "It's definitely higher than yours." The three elders of the Keys family felt a bit embarrassed. Clara Ocean added, "Feel free to ask. Even Eric King, the Demon Clan's Demon Emperor, I can defeat." She waved her small fist as she continued, "My actual cultivation level is at the peak of the early golden core stage, but what you see is merely the 7th layer of chi refining." Clara Ocean spoke with a sweet smile and continued, "However, I have 9 golden cores. When I lose control, anyone below the Mahayana stage gets crushed by me. I've tested it, you know." The great elder of the Keys family weakly asked, What does losing control mean?" Clara Ocean candidly replied, "Oh, if I stay in the demon realm for too long, I undergo demonization. When I transform into a fox, I basically go insane, yes, insane like a lunatic. My combat power essentially doubles, but I can't recognize anyone." The elders of the Keys family broke out in cold sweat. After a brief discussion among the three elders, they ultimately decided to stay at Dream River Mountain. Clara Ocean, skipping ahead, led them to find Joe Campbell, conveniently helping the old man overcome his divine transformation tribulation. If, after all this, the old man still didn't wholeheartedly take care of things, well, he shouldn't blame her for going berserk. After all, whenever she threw a tantrum, even the Demon Clan would obediently stand by and watch the chaos. Chapter 28, The 28th Return. Helping with the tribulation. After concluding the discussion with the three elders of the Keys family, Clara Ocean led the remaining members of the Keys family back to Dream River Mountain. Currently, at Dream River Mountain, no one dared to underestimate Clara Ocean. The Scott family had provoked this sly little demoness and was completely wiped out. The Taylor family, cluelessly offending her, met the same fate, utter annihilation. The people of Dream River Mountain were well aware that during the entire process, the Demon Clan stood by and even lent a hand. Because of Clara Ocean's intimidating presence, no one dared to obstruct them. Even the gatekeepers directly went to report to Joe Campbell and Peter Campbell. Since Joe Campbell's cultivation was more advanced, he naturally arrived earlier than Peter Campbell. Seeing Clara Ocean, Joe Campbell weakly asked, "You've come for?" Clara Ocean laughed and said, "These are the three great elders of the Keys family, all at the Golden Core stage. I'm helping them ascend to the nascent soul stage. You keep an eye on them for me. The requirement isn't high, just don't let them die in some inexplicable way. Anyway, if anything strange happens, someone will inform me. When that time comes, don't blame me for being unreasonable." Joe Campbell wiped his sweat as Clara Ocean continued, "Get ready. Once you've handled everything around here, go and face the tribulation." At this moment, Peter Campbell also arrived. After organizing a few things, Joe Campbell went straight back to his mountain peak. Seeing Clara Ocean's puzzled expression, Peter Campbell explained, Right now, I'm considered a junior disciple of ancestor Joe Campbell. So, do you want 3 mountain peaks, or what?" "The mountain peaks of the Scott family from before, Master specifically kept 3 for you." Clara Ocean replied rather irresponsibly, "Ask those 3 old men. Oh, by the way, after helping your master with the tribulation, I'll go traveling. Are you staying here, or will you come with me?" Peter Campbell cautiously answered, "Can I think about it?" Clara Ocean nodded and said, "Just give me an answer before I leave." Peter Campbell nodded. The 3 elders nearby, seeing that this young man got along well with Clara Ocean, politely greeted Peter Campbell, and the 2 sides got acquainted. The 3 elders of the Keys family decided they only needed 1 mountain peak. After all, there were too few people in the Keys family now, and managing a large scale would be difficult. Clara Ocean greeted Peter Campbell and then left Dream River Mountain, saying she'd return within 7 days at most. She headed to the nearby Demon Clan and gave them a formula, a pill recipe to forcibly elevate Golden Core cultivators to nascent soul stage. What surprised Clara Ocean was that within just 3 days, the nearby Alexander Kings had gathered all the required ingredients on the list and respectfully invited her back to Dream River Mountain. Along the way, Clara Ocean felt perplexed. Was she really that intimidating? Surely not, right? What was with their attitude? Back at Dream River Mountain, Clara Ocean used the herbs collected over the past few days to refine pills successfully. She managed to produce over 300 origin-returning pills. Clara Ocean casually tossed the pills to the 3 elders of the Keys family and nonchalantly said, "Here, pick someone to test the pills. According to the formula, these should help you reach the nascent soul stage. However, this type of pill accelerates the process." How should I explain this? Clara Ocean tilted her head in thought for a moment before saying, "After taking this pill, you'll basically be stuck at the nascent soul stage. Advancing further will be almost impossible. There shouldn't be any other side effects. From what I see, you're all nearly out of hope anyway. Want to give it a try?" The 3rd elder of the Keys family seriously asked, "How certain is the breakthrough to nascent soul? And if it fails, what happens?" Clara Ocean rolled her eyes and said, "Do I look like I'm using you as test subjects? The formula says that if it fails, you'll just stay at the golden core stage." The elders exchanged glances, planning to discuss it further. Clara Ocean ignored them and turned to find Joe Campbell, preparing to help him with his tribulation to the out-of-body stage. Similarly, this required yang transformation pills. With Clara Ocean handling the pill refinement, the pills naturally became a benefit distributed to the members of the Keys family. The 3 elders were all shrewd individuals. Clara Ocean gave them unusable pills, and they naturally understood why. It was merely a bribe. If bribing them didn't work, bribing the surrounding monsters would be just as easy. Days passed quickly, and Joe Campbell was finally ready to undergo his tribulation. Clara Ocean was the first to observe. Since Clara Ocean disliked being surrounded by onlookers during tribulations, she and Joe Campbell headed directly to a remote mountain range to begin. Each person could take a maximum of 5 yang transformation pills. In other words, if he consumed all 5 and still failed to summon heavenly lightning, his chances would be over. Not disappointing Clara Ocean, Joe Campbell summoned heavenly lightning after consuming only the 3rd pill. However, this lightning was far too weak, it didn't even compare to the lightning tribulation of the dance stage. Clara Ocean sighed, "I mean, why is your power not even on par with body integration stage pills? So weak." If Joe Campbell could move at this moment, he would surely want to argue with this girl. Feeling the pressure around him and absorbing the surrounding energy, Joe Campbell gazed expectantly at the sky. Clara Ocean, losing interest, casually waved her hand, transforming the heavenly lightning into spheres of thunder. Just as Joe Campbell was puzzled, the thunder spheres suddenly vanished. At the same time, Clara Ocean coldly said, "Heart tribulation, handle it yourself." As soon as she finished speaking, Joe Campbell felt his mind become unstable. He quickly focused all his spiritual consciousness to seriously confront his heart demon. Clara Ocean, seeing the old man sitting there motionless, found it incredibly boring. With nothing else to do, she mischievously flicked a small spark onto Joe Campbell. What happened next left Clara Ocean slightly speechless. Though Joe Campbell had been fine moments ago, the spark created a bloody hole in his body, bubbling with blood. Feeling helpless, Clara Ocean had no choice but to use healing techniques to treat him. Internally, she thought to herself, human bodies are so fragile, they can't even withstand a tiny spark like that. If Joe Campbell heard this, he would surely want to spit blood. After all, Clara Ocean's previous targets were all tribulation stage experts, naturally far more resilient than someone at the nascent soul stage. Moreover, the demon clan inherently possessed more robust physiques than humans. Thus, Joe Campbell's misery was inevitable, severely burned for no other reason than Clara Ocean's past experiences with stronger individuals. At this moment, Joe Campbell, undergoing his tribulation, was utterly exasperated. He had no idea why his body suddenly had a bloody hole, only for it to heal moments later. He didn't need to think hard to realize it was Clara Ocean's doing. However, Joe Campbell noticed that after being burned, his mind became significantly clearer. At the very least, Joe Campbell was certain that if he didn't wake up soon, the little girl might actually end up killing him. Meanwhile, Clara Ocean, utterly bored, found a patch of thick grass and fell asleep. Whether the old man lived or died no longer concerned her. As Clara Ocean slept soundly, she felt someone nudging her. Known for her bad temper upon waking, little Alexander King immediately threw out a thunder sphere without hesitation, then smiled sweetly before rolling over to continue sleeping. By now, Joe Campbell's hair was disheveled, and black smoke rose from his body. The resentment in his heart was immeasurable. He had only wanted to wake her up to return home and sleep. Unexpectedly, the girl didn't say a word and directly launched a thunder sphere at him, blasting him away with ease. Feeling helpless, Joe Campbell had no choice but to stay and keep watch. If he left, who knew if the little girl would wake up and use thunder to kill him, a newly advanced soul division expert. When Clara Ocean finally woke up again, it was already the following night. Seeing Joe Campbell with a new hairstyle, smoke still rising from his head, she immediately realized what had happened. Clearly, in her sleep, she had once again thrown a thunder sphere at him. Clara Ocean pressed two fingers together, feigning innocence, while Joe Campbell broke out in a cold sweat. He remained utterly silent. Thus, the two of them exchanged glances without speaking, quietly making their way back to Dream River Mountain. Upon arrival, Joe Campbell immediately accepted the three great elders of the Keyes family as his disciples, as a way to provide Clara Ocean with some reassurance. Joe Campbell understood that, as a demon with a lifespan measured in millennia, he himself was merely a minor demon. However, as a half-demon capable of earning the respect and submission of a demon king, he didn't believe Clara Ocean could easily meet her demise. Even if she truly did, he couldn't be certain whether the Lake clan would come after him for revenge. After all, demon kings had lifespans spanning hundreds of thousands of years. Whether they sought trouble with small figures like him completely depended on their mood. Joe Campbell wasn't willing to take such a risk, so offering some backing to the Keyes family in this minor matter was something he gladly did. Moreover, Joe Campbell was well aware that this girl had deep ties to the Lake clan. However, Clara Ocean simply glanced at him and remarked, "Those three will probably only make it to nascent soul in their lifetime, and that's only thanks to being propped up by medicinal pills. Aren't you at a loss?" Joe Campbell calmly replied, "I never said they were my personal disciples. How many I take in is my business." Clara Ocean wiped her sweat and continued, "Hey, do you want some lightning orbs to temper and cleanse your body?" Joe Campbell immediately shook his head. He didn't want to be struck again. Clara Ocean shook her head, sighing, "No wonder human bodies are so frail." Joe Campbell remained silent. If he had known that the person speaking to him was a nine-tailed fox god, he might have treated the old elders of the Keyes family with more kindness and consideration. After all, the demon clan was the most populous existence in this dimension. After wrapping up Joe Campbell's affairs, Clara Ocean turned her attention to the three elders of the Keyes family. After all, she didn't know whether consuming the origin returning pill would result in being struck by lightning. The eldest elder, whose time was running out, volunteered to test the pill. Thus, Clara Ocean dragged the eldest elder out to the courtyard, glaring at him as he consumed the pill. As expected, heavenly lightning arrived, but Clara Ocean didn't take it seriously. Without even forming a lightning orb, she directly charged forward, using her small body to withstand the strike head-on. She even let out a burp, indicating she was quite satisfied. The onlookers were left speechless, black lines forming on their foreheads. When the three elders finally reached nascent soul early stage, Clara Ocean suddenly remembered something. Feeling a bit embarrassed, she asked, "Oh, do you all still need body tempering?" They looked at Joe Campbell, their master, but Joe Campbell quickly shook his head, and the three elders followed suit. Clara Ocean, still dissatisfied, remarked, "Human bodies really are that frail, aren't they?" Chapter 29, First Encounters. After settling the affairs of the Ocean family, Clara Ocean decided to travel the world on her own. After all, she was only a bit over 7 years old and still a child who enjoyed having fun. Though she appeared as a young child, anyone with sharp senses could tell that this was no ordinary child to be trifled with. When Clara Ocean left, Peter Campbell didn't accompany her. His intention was to stay behind and help stabilize the Ocean family first. Whether he would go looking for Clara Ocean later depended on the circumstances. Clara Ocean casually said, "Go to Heavenly Marshall Mountain and find someone named Simon Lee. I'll be staying there for a while. If you need me, just come to the main city of Heavenly Marshall Mountain." As she spoke, Clara Ocean turned her hand to produce a handful of fox fur, handing it to Peter Campbell before continuing, "If you need anything, use this to summon nearby demon beasts for help. They will naturally lead you to me. Or, if you need my assistance, you can ask them to deliver a message. Of course, if you betray me, I don't need to elaborate on the consequences. Just the demon beasts alone won't leave enough of you for them to eat." Peter Campbell calmly responded with just 2 words, "Not at all." After Clara Ocean left, she headed to the territories of the Alexander Kings nearby. Once she greeted them, she requested a few little demons to escort her to Heavenly Marshall Mountain. By now, the entire demon clan was well aware that Felix Wind Alchemist's sense of direction was as terrible as his alchemy skills were extraordinary. After Clara Ocean had spoken with them, the Alexander Kings naturally paid close attention to matters concerning Dream River Mountain. They knew that the Ocean family was the family of Felix Wind Alchemist's father and also in-laws to the Lake clan, so they dared not delay. Thinking about how humans seemed to love the monkey wine brewed by the Monkey King, Clara Ocean loudly ordered the little demon to take her to the Monkey clan to raid them. The little demon pouted but obediently led the way. Of course, Clara Ocean climbed onto the little demon's back to hitch a ride as usual. Even when they were still far from the Lake clan, the Monkey King had already heard of Felix Wind Alchemist's arrival. The little demons of the Monkey clan naturally came out to greet them from afar. The first thing Clara Ocean said upon seeing the Monkey clan's little demons was, "Raid." The monkey messenger, seeing a human arriving, accompanied by a beast no less intimidating than himself, immediately turned tail and ran, dashing back to the clan in panic. The little monkey, with a flustered expression, exclaimed, "Your Majesty, this is bad." Seeing the Monkey King's fierce eyes and glancing at the man in green beside him, who had shamelessly pestered him for months, the little monkey gulped and said, "The great Wind Alchemist is here to raid us. He probably wants wine too." After speaking, the little monkey looked at the Monkey King with teary eyes. The Monkey King staggered upon hearing this and glanced at the man in green, taking the opportunity to sarcastically remark, "Monkey King, he's been begging you for months now, and now someone else is here to raid. Don't you think you should raid me first?" Irritated, the Monkey King snapped, "1 jar. Consider yourself lucky. No more than 1 jar. Don't push your luck, or I'll have the little ones chase you out." The man in green was quite pleased, happily hugging a large jar of monkey wine as he cheerfully left the Monkey clan. After months of effort, securing 1 jar made it all worthwhile. As soon as he reached the entrance of the Lake clan, he saw a brightly dressed little girl riding on the back of a wolf beast, her sparkling eyes fixed on the little monkey demon beside him. Meanwhile, he, a mere human, was glanced at briefly before being completely ignored. Clara Ocean curiously grabbed the little demon beside her and, seeing them push the man in green out, asked in surprise, "Who is that? Did he come to steal wine? Do you often collaborate with humans?" The little monkey demon grumbled indignantly, "That human is so slow. He spent months begging. If we weren't afraid of offending you, the king wouldn't have given him any wine. He's just a nascent soul practitioner, nothing special. Clara Ocean's mouth twitched. It seemed the Monkey King's stinginess was well known across both human and demon realms. At that moment, the Monkey King came out to greet her. Clara Ocean immediately leapt forward, hugging the Monkey King tightly, grabbing his beard with her small hands, and gleefully exclaimed, "I'm raiding you, raiding you, raiding you for your wine." The Monkey King was reluctantly resigned. He truly didn't want to give it away, but thinking about the group of young monkeys, he had no choice but to endure. The reason was simple: although he was a bit stingy and frugal, he wasn't stupid. If this little girl threw a tantrum here, the consequences would be beyond what he could handle. He asked gloomily, "How much are you taking?" Clara Ocean, without any courtesy, directly replied, "First, give me 100 or 200 jars. When it's finished, I'll come back to take more." The Monkey King staggered and almost fell. He looked at Clara Ocean for a long time before asking, "Can you even drink that much?" Clara Ocean started counting on her fingers and carefully calculated, "I have to share a few jars with the Keys family, right? At least 2 jars for each of them, right? Dream River Mountain Joe Campbell should get at least 2 jars, right? When I visit Grandpa Lake and the others, I should leave some for each of them, right? And the rest, I'm just a kid, if I run out of spending money, I can sell a jar." The Monkey King was speechless but obediently commanded the little monkey spirits to carry out a total of 300 jars without saying another word. Their race was the closest to humans, and this type of elixir worked much better for them than for other demon clans. While Clara Ocean was still wondering why the Monkey King was being so generous, he hesitantly asked, "Could you give us something in return? This wine is quite valuable." Clara Ocean rolled her eyes and replied, "I already told you it's a robbery, so of course, there's no compensation." Tears streamed down the Monkey King's face. Was being crazy an excuse to be unreasonable? Fine, who could argue with someone so hard to deal with when they lost their temper? Seeing the Monkey King's gloomy expression, Clara Ocean felt very pleased and laughed joyfully. She grinned and said, "Your spirit stones are useless to me. The elixirs I keep are useful, and the ones I don't use will be thrown to my father's clan for reconstruction. At most, I'll help you refine pills, you provide the ingredients. After all, I'm not in a hurry. But I'll take a cut of the foundation establishment, golden core, and nascent soul pills. As for chi refinement pills, I don't use them, and anything higher tier doesn't benefit me much." After saying this, Clara Ocean thought carefully and added, "Oh right, I can't make anything too advanced for now. My current level isn't high enough, and the failure rate is too high. It would waste too many herbs." The Monkey King nodded happily and immediately ordered the little monkey spirits to prepare the ingredients Clara Ocean needed, hoping she would quickly start refining pills. Such an opportunity was hard to come by. Soon, a pile of herbs, several times taller than Clara Ocean, was stacked in front of her. Looking at the mountain of herbs, Clara Ocean's anger flared up. Fuming, Clara Ocean shouted, "Damn it, can't the demon clan sort the herbs into categories?" Seeing Clara Ocean about to explode, the Monkey King and the group of monkeys backed far away, watching in fear. The Monkey King trembled and said, "What do you mean by sorting into categories? Just tell me, and I'll have the little ones do it for you." Clara Ocean was momentarily at a loss for words. She rolled her eyes and said, "Group the ones with the same name together for me. Start sorting them now." The Monkey King nodded, called out a few times, and a large group of monkeys began bustling around, classifying the mountain of herbs. Half an hour later, the piles of herbs were neatly sorted, leaving Clara Ocean very satisfied. However, she couldn't help but wonder why those mountains of herbs were still taller than her. Just how long had the Monkey Clan been stockpiling these? Seeing Clara Ocean's expression, the Monkey King hesitantly replied, "Well, we sell wine to humans, and they trade herbs with us. After all, their stones are useless to the Monkey Clan." Clara Ocean was speechless. The Monkey King continued, "That man in green you saw earlier, his master is one of our loyal customers. But recently, it seems he's run out of herbs to trade, so he sent his disciple to beg for wine." Clara Ocean resigned herself to the situation. Frustrated, she said, "Fine, but make sure to keep your monkeys in line. If any of them dare to sneak a look while I'm refining pills, I'll deal with them all." As soon as she finished speaking, the monkeys scattered like birds startled from a tree. Clara Ocean was utterly helpless at their reaction. Was she truly that terrifying? Was she? Wasn't she? Well, the answer was yes. During her year with the Monkey Clan, the happiest creature might have been the demon wolf who followed her. Over this time, he had managed to taste some of the Monkey Clan's wine, though only 2 jars in an entire year. Clara Ocean worked tirelessly, refining all the herbs the Monkey Clan had accumulated over the years into pills. Perhaps out of sheer frustration, Clara Ocean realized she had embezzled quite a bit. Pulling the Monkey King aside, she awkwardly said, I only took 20% for myself. For others, I usually take 60%. Why don't you take some back and trade it for human wine at their prices?" The Monkey King understood that if humans were to refine the pills, they would have only gotten half the amount currently available. Naturally, he didn't mind trading more with Clara Ocean. Their wine might be precious, but it couldn't compare to these pills, so it wasn't a loss. The Monkey King gritted his teeth a little. While the reasoning was clear to everyone, there was still some resentment. These pills were originally theirs. But then again, alchemists embezzling was nothing new. Now that the number of pills far exceeded their expectations, he reluctantly agreed. Clara Ocean grinned and said, "All right then, let's calculate by bottles. 1 bottle has 50 pills. These are for the chi refining stage, and these are." Clara Ocean began her inventory. In reality, she had reserves. Clara Ocean had plenty of reserves. She had actually embezzled 40%, but since she controlled the success rate, whatever she claimed was taken as fact. The Monkey King didn't resist at all. In this way, Clara Ocean managed to trade for another 200 jars of wine. Looking at the tearful monkeys, she felt a bit guilty for deceiving them further. Cheerfully, Clara Ocean departed, once again asking the demon wolf to carry her back to Dream River Mountain. The demon wolf was, of course, happy to accept this new task. After all, he had been eating and drinking well these past few days. Even though he was surrounded by minor demons, they treated him with great care. The Keyes family seemed to have truly revived. Joe Campbell had kept his word and was taking excellent care of them. Clara Ocean first returned to the territory of the surrounding Alexander Kings. She generously gave each of them 10 jars of wine, and the demons were overjoyed. Chapter 30, the 30th episode. Millennium City. Clara Ocean once again called her beloved wolf to carry her back to Dream River Mountain. Currently, most people at Dream River Mountain still remember the little alchemist who distributed medicinal pills. As soon as she appeared within the territory of Dream River Mountain, Joe Campbell was informed. Together with the great elder of the Keyes family, he came from afar to welcome her. At present, the sect leader of Dream River Mountain is Joe Campbell, and the Keyes family is stationed at Azure Cloud Peak. A group of people headed to Azure Cloud Peak together. Peter Campbell, however, was dismissed with a jar of wine. After all, with his level of cultivation, 1 jar of wine was enough to keep him entertained. Clara Ocean thought there was a 100% chance he would be robbed. Clara Ocean generously took out more than 20 jars of wine, pretending to be magnanimous, and said, "Just rob these from the Monkey Clan, 5 jars for each person. This is my hard-earned reward for the entire year." Joe Campbell and the elder of the Keyes family were momentarily silent. They didn't believe Clara Ocean had worked hard all year for just a few jars of wine, but they didn't say much. The fact that she still remembered them was already very considerate. Clara Ocean casually tossed Joe Campbell a bottle of medicinal pills for the out-of-body stage, then stared at him. Joe Campbell wisely understood that it was time for him to leave. After Joe Campbell left, Clara Ocean boldly laid out rows of bottles and jars on the table with a smug expression, as if saying, "I'm a big shot, bow down to me." She loudly declared, "The stage of use and the name of the pills are all labeled. As for the remaining bottles of out-of-body stage and nascent soul stage pills, you can keep them. Sooner or later, you'll need them. If Joe Campbell proves unreliable, just take them to Alexander King nearby for help. These pills are universal currency." The three elders nodded. Since there wasn't much common ground in conversation, Clara Ocean thought for a moment and said, "In a few days, I'll head to Heavenly Marshall Mountain for some fun. If anything comes up, have Alexander King nearby contact me to inform me." The three elders nodded again. After handling matters at Dream River Mountain, Clara Ocean once again rode her beloved wolf, heading to Heavenly Marshall Mountain. With no other pressing matters, she enjoyed sightseeing along the way. She had great fun during the journey, but Lucas Wolf wasn't as pleased. Not only did it have to lead the way, but it also had to run errands and hunt for food. Of course, what made it happy was the number of medicinal pills it consumed along the way, which Clara Ocean considered its welfare. When Clara Ocean saw a city in the distance, she finally allowed the wolf to return. What left her speechless was how fast the wolf ran away, as if its tail was on fire. She merely treated Lucas Wolf as a mount, riding it along the way. Was such a reaction necessary? It just wanted some privileges as a companion. Just as Clara Ocean was lamenting and walking forward a few steps, a group of people surrounded her. The leader arrogantly shouted a classic line, "This mountain is mine, and this tree is mine too. If you want to pass, leave a toll." Clara Ocean looked at them in confusion, pretending to be an innocent little rabbit, and asked innocently, "What do you mean? Are you trying to bully a little friend?" As she spoke, she clenched her tiny fists and covered her mouth, pretending to be very scared. One of the men impatiently said, "Rob, rob, rob, rob her." Clara Ocean nonchalantly cleaned her ear and said indifferently, "If you stutter, you should behave yourself. It's cooler over there." As she spoke, she casually pointed around, almost making the bandits faint from frustration. The stuttering man grew even angrier, pointing at Clara Ocean and stammering for a long time, only managing to say, "You." Clara Ocean yawned dramatically, not out of disrespect but because this group truly lacked intelligence. Of all people to rob, they chose to target a child who seemed the least reliable. The highest cultivation level among them was only at the foundation establishment stage, yet they dared to form a gang to rob others. Were they just asking to be punished? Even if you wanted to rob someone, you shouldn't target a golden core stage cultivator, right? That's practically asking to be beaten to death for nothing. To be honest, Clara Ocean was too lazy to deal with them, which was truly out of character for her usual obedient image. Well, at least Clara Ocean thought of herself as obedient. They looked at Clara Ocean with disdain, their faces full of arrogance. The bandits were furious, unable to tolerate the insult. After all, they were at the foundation establishment stage, while she was just a small chi refining cultivator. Who was she to look down on them? The leader of the group shouted, "Hand over all your spirit stones, or we won't care whether you live or die." Clara Ocean maintained her innocent, harmless demeanor, pitifully responding, "You're bullying a little girl. You must be bad people. And bad people deserve to be beaten, beaten, beaten." As she spoke, Clara Ocean lost her patience. Out of nowhere, she pulled out a long stick and charged forward. She didn't intend to kill these weaklings right away. After all, she had nothing better to do, so she decided to have some fun with them. The demon wolf, who had just left not too far away, sensed something unusual in the air and quickly turned back. If something happened at the city gate and it ended up being eaten by the king as dinner, what an unjust death that would be. When it returned, it happened to see Clara Ocean cheerfully wielding her stick, smacking the bandits on their backsides. From the little girl's reactions, she perfectly embodied the human saying, "The joy of a carefree child." The demon wolf observed from the side, silently memorizing each of their faces. Once the fox alchemist left, these bandits would become its dinner. Although Clara Ocean appeared to be at the 8th level of chi refining stage, she was actually in the mid-golden core stage. Defeating them was a matter of moments. Whether they lived or died depended entirely on Clara Ocean's mood. The Foundation Establishment stage bandits initially thought they could easily win. After all, their cultivation levels were clearly superior. But every time they tried to attack, they ended up getting smacked on the rear. Now, after just a few rounds, they were beaten so badly they could barely move. Clara Ocean, ever practical, rummaged through their belongings. Although there weren't many spirit stones, something was better than nothing. She could sense the demon wolf returning, and she figured these bandits wouldn't escape becoming its dinner. Pouting, Clara Ocean angrily kicked the bandits a few times. And muttered, "So poor. I despise you." The bandits wanted to cry. They wished they could say, "Miss, mock us all you want, but please spare us." Unfortunately, they didn't even have the strength to beg for mercy.